Welcome, Pewter Report readers and listeners, to another edition of the Pewter Report podcast, a Victory Monday edition of the Pewter Report podcast, energized by Celsius. I am John Ledyard from pewterreport.com. Along with me today, you know him as the voiceless wonder, but his voice is returning, as are the wisdom of his takes. Ladies and gentlemen, Scott Reynolds. You took your face away. Scott Reynolds, back in the house.
That's me. Yes, voice is still not at 100%, but it's getting there. So July was better than June. August better than July. So we're trending the right way, trying to be ready by opening day. Right. That's what we want. So
absolutely, that's what we want. That's what the Bucs want to be, is ready by opening day. But don't know if they would, if Bruce Arians would say that their offense is there just yet. Scott, he was quite scathing in his report on today's practice. I was unexpectedly so, as a matter of fact, and we'll get into that today. We'll get into the brilliance of the signing of Giovanni Bernard. I can't get over some of Jason Light's moves. I am stuck on praise for some of his moves because they are just quietly brilliant. The Brady thing's easy. The other stuff that he's done to supplement this group is remarkable. The defense is buzzing right now. We'll talk about how brilliant they've been. You've got observations from today's O-line, D-line one-on-ones that I can't wait to get to. I'll also talk about some players that I think have been really disappointing so far and they need to step up, including some names that you're going to know. Not just the D. Delaney's and the no disrespect, D. Delaney, I'm sorry, but not just
Cameron
those guys,
Kinley's.
but not just the Cameron Kinleys, but some of the other more prominent names, and they need to really step up and help themselves here over the rest of the preseason and training camp. But first, Celsius, title sponsor of the Pewter Report podcast. Active lives are powered every day by Celsius and the energy that comes from these amazing, tasty beverages that also have no sugar, Scott. I don't know if you knew that. And did you know that they accelerate metabolism? That they burn body fat?
Yes, I knew that too.
Wow, you're a Celsius expert, and everybody out there should be a Celsius expert as well by clicking on the store locators when you're on Celsius's website. Go to those and make sure you check those out and see where you can find Celsius near you, or click on those banner ads at pewterreport.com. Order yourself a little bit of Celsius. You can find them on Amazon as well. A great way to get yourself some Celsius.
I didn't have a Celsius today, but you know what I did have? I did have a fast protein bar.
I had a fast protein bar as well. I was actually just about to mention that.
I had that, and I don't have any more. I'm literally out of the last one today, so I don't even have like the wrapper to show you guys. But the cool thing is right now on Amazon, they have a special offer, and of course Celsius produces fast energy bars, and they have a special offer right now where you can save 20% off of your purchase. So if you go to Amazon and you want to order some fast protein bars, they're 20% off on Amazon, and you want to use the promo code 20FAST now to save 20%. I just bought 2 boxes. I bought 1 box of the salted caramel peanut crunch, the other box with the white chocolate cookies and cream. John, it's a great back to school treat for the kids. It's great energy. They taste awesome, and they don't upset my stomach. So I'm a huge believer in not just Celsius, but the fast bars.
Yeah, for sure. The fast bar today was sustenance that I greatly needed after that practice in intense heat, and they taste amazing. Cookies and cream.
Yes.
So good. So definitely make sure you check that out. There's the promo code for you, 20FAST now. Go check that out over on Amazon. As always, Celsius moving the needle, doing good stuff. I guess the Bucs offense wasn't moving the needle or doing good stuff in the eyes of Bruce Arians today, Scott, because he wasn't messing around after practice. He said, probably a great defensive practice, blah, blah, blah. Worst offensive practice we've had in 3 years in Tampa.
You know what? It's interesting, right? Because I didn't think the defense was as dominant as Bruce said it was. Now, listen, he's the head coach. I'm going to defer to him. But I just thought it was more about the offense screwing up than it was the defense forcing the action. Now, where they were dominant, John, was in run defense. I mean, at times the starting unit especially, we noticed Will Golston, Vita Vea just completely clogging the middle. Will Golston had a tremendous practice today. But the linebackers were flying all over the field. There was even a running play when the Buccaneers were running. They were working on running out of their own end zone, right? So, like, remember the 98-yard touchdown run by Ronald Jones last year against Carolina? Well, they tried to have shades of that again, but even Mike Edwards took exception to that and actually tackled Rojo at about the 20-yard line. He's like, "You're not getting a 98-yard touchdown on my watch." And this was really
and this was after Rojo's hit a spin move on Antoine Winfield that had him clutching air, by the way.
Yes,
Rojo
exactly.
hit a nasty spin move.
He did. So good for Rojo, but and this was not supposed to be a tackling period, but Mike Edwards said, "I'll be damned if you're going to go 98 yards on me." So he actually lightly tackled Rojo at around the 20-yard line. But it was that kind of day. Mike Edwards had an interception, really read the eyes of Blaine Gabbert, might have even kind of manipulated that throw a little bit and came away with the big interception today. Sean Murphy-Bunting had a nice pass breakup down the field. The Bucs defense was solid today, but I think they were dominant almost by default because of just so many errors on the offense, bad reads by the quarterbacks, dropped passes by tight ends, running backs, and receivers. Just was not a crisp day at all. And this is the one thing too. I was thinking it, and Bruce Arians said it today at his press conference. It seems like after every off day, the offense has a crap day.
Yeah.
And that's been the case now for, I think, 3 consecutive practices after off days. This has happened. So
yeah, it's a concern for sure. It's something to think about. I mean, again, a lot of this is, like Bendick said it here, a lot of it is drops. I mean, it was a good defensive showing for sure. The run game has been an issue, but again, in practice, I have no idea how much credence to put into that. I don't know when. They have sprung some big runs, but I just don't know. I don't know what I'm watching. Until we get in a game setting for the run game, it becomes really hard for me. So I definitely did not watch practice and think, wow, this is like an atrocious offensive practice. Yeah. It wasn't as crisp as some of the other ones I've seen, but most of it was drops. I thought schematically they still did some good things. I saw a couple mental mistakes. I'm sure Bruce obviously sees way more than that. By the way,
John,
Jacob.
John, hold on one second. Do you think that Bruce came out and maybe over-exaggerated this to drive the point home to the offense about these sloppy days after days off? I mean, because I didn't think it was that bad, right? I didn't think the defense was that dominant. I didn't think the offense was that bad. But maybe he's blowing his top about this to just send a message through the media to the players. What do you think about that?
Yeah, Jacob, by the way, you asked YouTube sending you notification that we all are on. I see you made this comment about 5 minutes ago, and we've only been on about 7 minutes. So I think they told you when we were live. That's all. But we haven't been on that long. So thanks for tuning into the podcast as always. Yeah, it's possible, Scott, that he is sending a message there. I'm honestly not. I mean, I think he's obviously frustrated. Bruce doesn't do a good job of playing games. Like, he's probably frustrated too about some things that maybe some things you and I didn't notice. It was interesting today because Brady probably got the least amount of reps that I've seen during a practice which he has participated in. So Blaine Gabbert got a lot of first team reps that he hadn't been getting. But I really didn't think Blaine Gabbert was a huge problem today. I didn't think any of the quarterbacks. Trask was solid today, honestly. It was one of his better days. This was way more
Ryan Griffin looked pretty good. Ryan Griffin got more reps today than I'd seen him get in some time. Yeah,
so I mean, it wasn't really on the quarterbacks. It was kind of on the skill position guys, in my opinion. I mean, Jalen Darden had a drop. Tyler Johnson had an egregious drop. Mike Evans had a drop.
Cody
Fournette had a drop. Cody McElroy had a couple drops. Gronk dropped one on air. O.J. Howard's dropped several. We'll talk more about him in a little bit. It was just very sloppy from that perspective. There were some mental mistakes in protection. I don't know who they were on. I could not see that from our angles. I just saw non-blitz situations, guys coming in free and clean, and it was not – that's definitely not ideal, and I'm sure a lot of his frustration was on things like that they couldn't execute cleanly. There was a big pass play to Antonio Brown, and on the play, Brady threw it, and it was a great throw and connection and everything, but Elijah Ponder was totally unblocked, and so he just came up and stood there basically next to Brady while Brady had kind of stepped in and threw this ball. But I'm sure that was like not – I mean, one of your down linemen shouldn't be unblocked in those situations. Right. So, yeah, definitely a mistake there.
But at the same time, Antonio Brown made the most of it.
He did, and
he beat Kenley in coverage. And then,
well, it continues to be AB looking like the best receiver at camp for the Bucs. I mean, that's and you say this as somebody who kind of had some doubts about him after last year.
Yeah, and the thing is if you go back and look at Antonio Brown and what he was able to do, you saw him really come on at the end of the regular season rate. I mean, he averaged 18.6 yards per catch, had his first touchdown against the Falcons in Atlanta in that 17-point comeback that they won 31-27. and then had a touchdown. I think he only played the first half, right? I mean, the starters only played the first half really against the Lions the next week, but he had a touchdown there. Then
he went off against Atlanta.
11 catches, 138 yards, 2 touchdowns, really playing the increased role with Mike Evans departing midway through the first quarter of that game. And then all was fine against the Washington football team, scored a touchdown in that game. Then you saw the knee started to kind of, wear and tear on him a little bit. Didn't play in the second half of the Saints game, and then missed the Packers game before scoring a big touchdown in the Super Bowl. But Bruce Arians today, John, talked about how Antonio Brown looks as good, as healthy as he has in years, because he got that knee procedure done. And I agree. Big. Whenever he's on the field, I mean he's exciting. I would expect his 10.7 yards per catch average last year with Tampa Bay to increase to 12 to 14 this year. I think he's going to be involved in more big plays down the field. But as you and I were talking during practice today, John, a lot of what the Bucs wanted him to do was the quick game stuff, the quick outs, the curls, the comebacks, the wide receiver screens, the bubble screens, those types of things, the smoke routes, to get the ball in his hands, use his initial quickness to pick up first downs.
Right.
And I think that his offensive role is going to expand. We've seen him get targeted deeper down the field. And I think that's a sign of things to come this year.
For sure. I think that Antonio Brown's role will keep evolving and keep growing just as he gets healthier, obviously, but also as he knows more about the offense. I think that was really the biggest hold up there with him. Mark Fisher asked an interesting question here. Do you think Brady's talked with the top 3 receivers to keep unity up and bickering out between them? I don't really know that he needs to right now, to be honest. I mean, AB would be the one that you would wonder about based on, kind of the way he responded when Juju was breaking out in Pittsburgh, and there wasn't always the most mature responses from him. But there's also a lot of other things going on with AB at that point in time that I think influenced a lot of that. I think he's genuinely not going to be an issue in the locker room. Could there be stuff outside of that? I have no idea. We'll just have to see. But in the locker room, it's just such a strong group. I don't think that there will be any issues there. So probably no need to have those conversations just yet. I think that Antonio Brown has been clearly the best Bucs receiver in practice without taking anything away from the fact that Mike Evans has been good. Even if today wasn't necessarily his best day, Chris Godwin has been good, if not a little bit quiet recently. I think in some of the team periods, it is very hard when there's this many good players and the starters are getting less reps than the younger guys. So you have to kind of make the most of your opportunities.
It's really interesting, John, because that slot position that Chris Godwin plays, the Larry Fitzgerald position in Bruce Arians' offense, it's really the straw that stirs the drink, right? It's really the big time receiver role, because Bruce Arians likes to attack the middle of the field, especially vertically, right? That's why you see Gronk and the tight ends get their play down the middle of the field. The slot receiver does the same. Because generally speaking, and this is Arians' thought process, this is the reasoning behind why his offense is featured around that slot receiver. It's because usually the nickel corner is not your best corner, right? Usually your stud Pro Bowl corner, think Jalen Ramsey, Stephon Gilmore, whatever, they're the outside corners, and they're going to be tying up the likes of Mike Evans. And so what you see is a nickel corner, you see a linebacker, right? You see a safety down the middle of the field against that slot receiver. And I just wonder if Chris Godwin has not been targeted an awful lot, because that is kind of the bread and butter of this offense. And he does it so well. You saw him have a breakout Pro Bowl season 2 years ago when he was healthier than he was last year. But I just wonder if they're just trying new things, different things in camp, because that is their staple, their bread and butter. So I'm not that concerned that Godwin hasn't really been the star of camp or hasn't really flashed. I think that's coming. I just think I almost think that's a given, John. What do you think?
Oh, it's a given. It's absolutely a given. And today he got one, over the middle, Gabbard threw behind him. He's wide open, and he just kind of deftly swiveled around and caught it, and then swiveled back around and kept running. It was one of those kind of I don't know if you'll see it on SportsCenter, but it was a great play, subtle thing, and that's what Godwin does. He's just so consistent. I mean, I haven't seen Godwin drop anything in practices. Like AB, both of those guys are just very, very consistent. Hardly ever any drops, hardly ever any bad body language, hardly any nothing. They're just they're always up, they're always energized, they're always engaged.
Team first.
Yeah, exactly right. And so those guys are definitely model that kind of part of it for the receivers. But yeah, I mean, The running back room is really where I'd like to get your thoughts on, Scott, because here's the deal. Everybody knows how I feel about Leonard Fournette thanks to the Leonard segments last year, and talked a little bit about him so far. And I think he's having a really bad camp. I think Rojo has looked much better in all phases. I think Rojo has caught the ball as well as I've ever seen him catch the ball in this year's training camp. Not that he's ever going to be Giovanni Bernard, but he's caught the ball better than Fournette, no question, in my opinion. You've seen more practices, or you saw the first week that I didn't miss. And so you don't have this kind of people think I have a built-in bias against Leonard. I don't. I just like good football players. And so I don't think he fits that bill as often as he should. What are your thoughts? Unbiased and apart from my own thoughts, let people hear from you to see if we're on the same page with this.
I think we are really, even during the individual periods, John, you and I had a conversation I'll share with everybody here. I walked up to you just kind of unprompted, and I said, the thing about Leonard Fournette is he's got all this great God-given ability, right? I mean, the talent is there. It's unquestionable, right? He was a highly sought-after high school recruit. He was I guess, in the Heisman Trophy mix. He was a top 5 pick after his days at LSU. They built an offense around him in Jacksonville. It just seems like, though, when you look at guys like Mike Evans, you look at guys, even Antonio Brown, who's a self-made man, right? 6th-round pick out of Central Michigan. We were talking about him today. You look at Tom Brady, right? Those are guys that have completely maxed out their bodies, their careers, their football IQ. They look for every advantage that they could get because maybe they're not the most talented. Now, I think Mike Evans, out of the 3, probably is the most physically talented. I mean, the guy, he's a bit of a freak with his size, leaping ability, hand-eye coordination to be able to catch those 50-50 balls. But with Leonard, I think because he has so much talent, he just is not maxing out that talent. And I think that he could be better than he is or ever will be, because I just don't see him going that extra mile and having the commitment to his own game that some of those guys I just mentioned do. And I think that's the separator between a great player like a Brady, an AB, a Mike Evans, and even a Chris Godwin, and a really good player like Leonard Fournette.
Right. It's hard. It's getting harder for me to figure out. And I think you tell me what you think. I've noticed the last 2 practices I've been at, Friday and Monday today, where I just thought it was clear Rojo's getting more opportunities. Giovanni Bernard's getting a ton of opportunities, largely because situational football is what they work on. He's a lot of crucial situational football he's going to be in on. So he needs those reps, but the red zone and third downs and things like that. But I mean, Rojo is clearly the better runner. Rojo is Leonard Fournette has more drops than anyone in camp.
Yeah, it seems to me there's a greater sense of urgency, certainly with Giovanni Bernard. Everything he does has a sense of urgency about it, whether it's a run on a draw play, a catch and run on a screen pass. We saw a beautiful catch and run down the sidelines. I mean, he was turning the Jets on, and whether it's pass protection, there's a sense of urgency there, of a veteran professionalism with Giovanni Bernard that is just going to make him the third down back, no question. And you have to wonder, is he going to see time maybe on first or second down, and then you see that sense of urgency with the way Ronald Jones runs the ball. And, he hits the hole hard with acceleration. I think he
always plays hard, Ronald Jones.
He does.
Smart, execution-wise, that's a question sometimes, but hard, no question.
You just don't see the consistency. You don't see the sense of urgency from Leonard Fournette's game. There's a little bit of complacency, a little bit. I'm going to say the word lackadaisical, but that's probably a little too harsh, because I'm not calling him lazy or lackadaisical. It's just that he drops passes he should catch, and you just don't see that with the regularity from a Giovanni Bernard. Who is, to me, is just like a complete professional, maximizing every ounce of ability that he has. And I'd love to see that from Fournette, because I think he could take his game to the next level, but I just don't know that he is going to do that.
The hardest thing to reconcile with Fournette, in my opinion, is the fact that he doesn't run that hard. And not that he doesn't run physical. I don't mean that he runs soft. I just mean he is not a big tackle breaker. He just
it's not a sense of urgency.
Rojo runs way harder than Leonard Fournette does, and that's hard for people to understand because of Fournette's size and his reputation. but it's just never
you know
really
what?
been true with him.
There are some plays, like there was a delay today. There was like there was a delay run where he got the ball and took off like he was shot out of a cannon. I remember thinking to myself, like, do that every time. Do that every time, you know?
Yeah. It's nice when there's the defined space for him on the delays. And it's not like Leonard Fournette is a useless player, and the Bucs are paying him very little, you know, comparatively to how most people, I mean, he's a top 5 pick, so former top 5 pick. So, you know, they're paying him jump change considering his reputation and everything. So it's not like it's a mistake to bring him back or anything. I just don't like when you watch practice today. Ronald Jones is making impact plays in the run game. You can see it. The burst is there. He hits the spin move on Winfield. I mean, he does things like that. And it's like, all right, Giovanni Bernard is catching the football very well. He's making plays after the catch. He caught a touchdown in the red zone 7-on-7. They're lining him up wide. They're running him on slants. Like they're doing things with him they would never do with Leonard Fournette or Ronald Jones. In pass protection, Giovanni Bernard picks up a Devin White blitz and then picks up another one a few plays later. Like just stuff that is just great stuff. That's what you need for your running backs. That's where value is found with the running back position, doing those kind of things. Fournette just doesn't really do those kinds of things. And so I think it just leaves the door open for the other two guys to just become a tandem backfield.
Yeah, and Keyshawn Vaughn, to Mike's question here, Keyshawn Vaughn is at a really good camp. It's just he's kind of buried behind these veterans right now, but he has really improved his game. You're seeing a greater
looks solid as a pass catcher.
Yeah. You're seeing a sense of urgency from him catching the ball, from him, you know, just hitting the gas and just accelerating on his runs.
He had a good blitz pickup today as well. Yep. We need to see him in preseason. We've seen so little of him live.
There's going to be a lot of him, and it's going to be exciting to watch because he didn't have that preseason last year, and I think that caused some of the jitters that you saw, the drops, the fumbles. You know, I mean, he's going full speed, you know, at the NFL speed, you know, level right off the bat with no introduction like you get in the preseason, because the mistakes you make in the preseason are not fatal, right? They're expected from rookies, but the problem is those rookie mistakes aren't tolerated in the regular season because that's when the games matter. And you know, and so if you fumble, if you drop the ball, like you lose the trust in the coaches. We saw that last year with Keyshawn Vaughn. His role was vanishing as the season went on.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those things with Keyshawn Vaughn where the preseason is going to determine like everything.
Yes.
For special teams, for running the ball. If he goes off in every preseason game, if he gets ample opportunity and goes off in every preseason game, we're going to be having another conversation at the end of the month, Scott. We're going to be having a conversation around what's the value of trading Leonard Fournette. That's if he goes off. If Keyshawn Vaughn's going off and making plays, pass blocking, catching the ball, running the ball, even against third stringers, I don't care. Like if you're producing, you're producing. You know what I mean? And you can play special teams too. Oh, all right. Let's, because even Troymaine Pope's had a good camp, Scott. Like I said this to you today, I feel great about Troymaine Pope on the practice squad. If he's your emergency, break glass in case of emergency running back, I'm pumped about that. He's some burst. He can catch the football. He's not afraid to stick his face in the fan and pass protection. He's played special teams. That's a great fifth back to have on your roster. So I think the Bucs are fine at the running back position. Leonard Fournette, I don't know if there's even interest in him around the league based on his free agency. Probably very little. You're not going to trade him, but
I don't think Jason Light's going to be inclined to trade anybody this year,
unless Keyshawn Vaughn goes for like 300 in the preseason.
Yeah, something like that, right? Where that would cause like a Leonard Fournette to be disgruntled, right? If he really saw if he lost reps, if he lost reps and got disgruntled, then I think that would be an instance where Jason Light might make a trade, but he's not going to make a trade just to get future draft picks because he's been so good at drafting players, especially day 3 guys, right? I mean, Scotty Miller, Tyler Johnson, Khalil Davis, who had a really good day on one-on-ones in the pass rush, pass protection one-on-ones.
So huge.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that in a second. I don't want to get off track.
Yeah. So to me, though, I don't think, because if you go back and look, Steve McClendon, right? Aaron Stinney, Antonio Brown, the Bucs won last year because of their depth. Mm-hmm. Cameron Brate, stepping up.
Tyler Johnson making a huge third down catch against the Saints.
Exactly. So, I mean, I don't see with this team in the Super Bowl hunt, realistically, again, for a second year in a row, I don't see Jason Light trading any depth for, a 4th round pick next year, a 5th round pick. because they got a formula going on. They're hitting on their draft picks. If you don't have depth, then you want to accumulate those picks. But right now, the depth, having those veteran guys that know the scheme, offense and defensively, will serve this team well in its quest for a repeat.
Cam Brate has been activated off the PUP list. We should have probably led with that because Cam's the man, and we're very, very happy about that for him and for the team, obviously. Matthew Sam says we are so deep in terms of the Bucs. It is a little bit absurd. Cam Brate's not even been out there, and we just haven't even had time to talk about that because there's a million other people to talk about. And now they're at pretty much full strength. They need Robert Hainsey. Has missed some practices. Yeah. I don't think that's serious. Who else? There's Cyril Grayson.
Yeah,
I know he's a key cog. He's a key cog.
He's not a key cog. No, that's blasphemy, John. You know that. But I will say that I think Robert Hainsey, and I don't know this. I'm just guessing, but I want to say it's probably a groin injury because he's been out for so long. Yep. Usually, it's one of two things. It's either a groin with the offensive lineman, groin, or a back. Yep. And if it's a back injury, usually they don't want you standing around on the sidelines because that's just not good on your back. So I think it's a groin, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was because he's making the switch from right tackle to center, and it's a completely different stance.
This is a very detailed. So you think his groin got hurt because of the position switch? You think?
Well, I did possibly. Yeah, I mean,
would be the first guy whose groin got hurt.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's a common injury for offensive linemen is a groin pull.
Right. So he's been doing pass sets on air by himself on the side. Yeah. On occasion. So
and I could be wrong. It's just I'm guessing because he's been out this long.
Right.
And if he was doing pass sets, like I don't think it would be a calf injury, something like that.
And it could be right. Yeah. Right. There could be knee or leg or an ankle. Could be an upper body. I don't know. We don't know. Anyway, Hainsey's hurt. We don't know when he'll be back. Maybe for the first preseason game. We'll see. Tomorrow's probably a big day for him if he's going to play in that game, I would say.
I would agree, yes.
He's got to be back. But Cam Gill returned today to practice, which was good. Big absence for him. And he made a tackle for loss. He and Quentin Bell both returned and both made a tackle for loss together in the backfield. With the 13 defense, both those guys.
The Bucs running game just got nowhere today.
You know? I mean, other than that Gio run, or the Bernard or Jones run that you mentioned in the spin.
And even you said it. It's like Devin White. You know we're talking like during reps. It's like Devin White goes up and he's calling out the run. He's like,
it's ridiculous.
It is. These guys practice against each other so much. So
that's right.
It's like you can tell by what down and distance they're practicing, what the personnel grouping is, what the formation is. Devin White's calling out like what the run play is. And it's like he's literally at the snap of the ball, he and Will Golston, all the veterans are just converging. Just not even fair.
I think Devin White's been on almost every tackle and run defense that they've had, every good play. I mean, he's just constantly, and Levante too, but they're running more to Devin White's side, I feel like most of the time. And he's just been on everyone. I'm just like, come on. I mean, he's good for sure, but this is getting absurd. It feels like they kind of know what they're up against. And the Bucs run scheme has never been super diverse, and a lot of
it's not going to catch teams by surprise.
That's right. But the pass game, different story, and that's where I think they'll make their money. But it was. I think it's not what I'm saying here is that I don't know that it's a strong indication of how bad the Bucs run game is bad because they haven't had a lot of practice success. I'm just not ready to say it. I'm not saying they're good. I'm just not ready to say that they're bad at that point in time.
Long last laser, like I said, I don't think there's going to be any trades of any players this year because they need depth. And you saw some players last year. I mean, look at Ronald Jones. He was the almost 1,000-yard rusher, but it was Leonard Fournette who was the running back in the postseason. Mm-hmm. It's not going to help their chances of getting a Super Bowl repeat victory by acquiring a 5th-round pick next year. That's not the goal. This is not a team that's building for the future. This is a team that wants to win another championship right now and then see what they can do about repeating in 2022. That's what this is all about right now. It's winning a Super Bowl. Yeah. It's not about future picks. So I don't see them looking to trade any player right now.
And the biggest distinguishment, and if you leave, actually can you pull that comment back up just real quick from Long Lost Glazer? Yeah. But here's the big reason why I think Scott's exactly right. Outside of what he's talking about, how important depth is, one of the biggest misconceptions out there is what you can get for players in the NFL. It's not like the NBA and some of these other leagues where you can
It's not
trade
like Madden.
anybody for first or
Right.
second. Like, for example, just using the premise that Long Lost Glazier said here, Leonard Fournette is never getting back a 4th-round pick in compensation. Like, he had no interest in free agency. There's only like 2 teams that would even trade for him.
Right.
You're getting a 6th back for Leonard Fournette, probably, if you trade him. So you have to weigh that against, okay, 6th in the NFL. Well, in the NBA, there's only 1st and 2nd. So, like, that's like a late 2nd in the NBA, right? Like, that's the comparison. Like, is that worth it? What percentage of time does it got? If you needed Leonard Fournette to start in the playoffs, obviously just proved that he can be fine in this offense doing that. So you're not going to trade him because you're not getting that value back for him. Jordan Whitehead is good. I think he's good. I think he's a good starting safety.
Yeah.
You're not getting a 3rd for him. Like, the guys that get traded once the season starts and you get a 3rd back for are like surefire difference maker start. I mean, he's 1 year left on his contract, Whitehead.
Yeah.
So if you trade him before the deadline,
and
somebody's paying a 3rd for half a season of Whitehead, it's just not happening. He's not that.
That alone would really prevent the team from trading Whitehead because
exactly.
If you're a team that acquires him, then you have to commit to a contract. Otherwise, you just burn a pick for half a year.
It's different if you're a team that isn't going to win and you want to trade somebody. You can get 5 or 6 5th and 6th round picks, and then you use those to move up, and you're rebuilding your team. The Bucs aren't in that position, so to them, there's really no value in trading people. I don't think we'll see. The only trade scenario we would see is a disgruntled Lenny, something which, by the way, might be disgruntled Lenny might be a thing. Let's just wait and see. But if push comes to shove,
not.
Training camp Lenny, disgruntled. Yeah, hopefully it's not a thing. But if Keyshawn Vaughn balls out and then it's disgruntled Lenny, that might be a situation where I could get behind disgruntled Lenny because I would be very here for Keyshawn Vaughn, who's the only running back that's here beyond the season.
That's true. I mean, if you think about it, Ronald Jones, Leonard Fournette, Giovanni Bernard, all 3 of those running backs are in their final year of the contract. I mean,
and do I think it's very early? Do I think it's likely that Giovanni Bernard will have enough love from the Bucs and he'll love the fit enough to want to come back after this season?
Yes.
I think that's a decent chance. Yes.
I would agree. Yeah.
Because it's going to be competitive offers. All the offers are going to be part-time running back type offers for him, unless he has 1,000 yards or something. The Bucs can compete with that. So anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves there. But speaking of getting ahead of ourselves, let's talk about Underdog Fantasy because the season's not here yet, Scott, but fantasy football is well underway. And we are very excited about our partnership with Underdog Fantasy. On Friday, I went on the podcast and I said, if you want to play in a best ball fantasy football league with me with Underdog, go to underdogfantasy.com and use the promo code PEWTER, PEWTER, sign up, get the $25 in credit, and join this league. And I'll send you the link for it. You can email me to join this league. Well, we filled that league very quickly. It was awesome. Filled that league, had a draft. It's great stuff. I'm going to win. Can't wait. No, I'm kidding. Some of the key fans of the Pewter Report podcast are in that league. Then I got a bunch more requests, and so we're starting another league. So if you want to be in on this, hit me up. We're starting another league. We've got a couple spots left, I think, maybe 2 or 3. Trying to remember. But the promo code is PEWTER, PEWTER, to get that $25 in credit. Just make an Underdog Fantasy account. Takes like 5 seconds. Enter that promo code. You get the credit that you need to be able to play, and you can put in a little bit of your own money. There's all kinds of stuff. There's prop bets on there. All kinds of stuff. It's great stuff at Underdog Fantasy. The fantasy drafts, the layout is super clean, super awesome. So let me know. Email me, John, Jon, at pewterreport.com, Jon at pewterreport.com. Send me an email. Say, I want to be in this Underdog Fantasy League. Absolutely, I want to take money from you. It's a $3 thing to enter. That's all that it is. And it's a 6-person league. So we're talking about it's just very cheap and easy to get in here. We might do a higher paid one, like maybe we'll do like a $10 entry or something at some point if people have interest. If you have interest in that, hit me up, let me know. Also, Jon, Jon at pewterreport.com, but let me know. Let's get you in this fantasy league. Let's win some money with Underdog Fantasy.
I'm up for $10. Let's do a lot of. See, now you're talking my language, right? The $3, I'm like, $10. All right,
right. Yeah. You got to put in enough that you feel like you got something out of it. Yeah, I hear you. You want to go to Burns, or wait, where are you going? Capitol Grill. No, where are you going if you get this?
Burns.
Burns. Yeah. All right. I don't know yet. I'm the newbie in town, so I don't know where the spot is yet.
Yeah,
I know that's probably going to start a discussion. The Burns, Capitol Grill, Charlie's. What are we doing?
Charlie's. Now we're talking.
No, Charlie's. Yeah, no question.
Charlie's
I've been there.
Yeah,
I've been there, and I've been.
I took you to Charlie's. Yeah, Charlie's.
Yeah, Charlie's is great. Yeah, Charlie's. That's where the Pewter Report staff had their was it Christmas dinner or end of season dinner, Super Bowl winning dinner? I don't know what you want to call it.
Yeah,
but it was a great time for sure. No, I think that this running back situation has been it's fascinating to watch unfold, Scott. But at the end of the day, I think I'm trusting and praying logic is going to win out. And I just won't be surprised if we see Giovanni Bernard get way more snaps than a lot of these fantasy football people are predicting. I know I've said that for a while. I watch practices and I continue to feel that way. I think that, that he is a better running back running the ball than people give him credit for. So I think that there's the possibility with him. Any word on Donovan Smith? Yeah. Yes, Donovan Smith was back today. Yep, back to practice today. Missed 2 practices for personal reasons. Don't know the story there, but he was back today. Looked good. One-on-ones. Tell us about one-on-ones, Scott. Okay. You watched O-line, D-line one-on-ones. I heard Donovan Smith did take an L in one-on-ones to Jason Pierre-Paul.
Well, he did. Yeah, he held his own against Cam Gill, which is no surprise, right? I mean, he should.
Better.
But yeah, Jason Pierre-Paul was just on another level during one-on-ones. He whipped Donovan Smith, knocked him to the ground. I mean, and was saying some choice words. He got the defensive guys fired up. As a matter of fact, my notes are over there. I want to say after he beat Donovan Smith, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 wins in a row for the defense after Jason Pierre-Paul got everybody lit by beating Donovan Smith.
Wow.
Yeah. And I mean, he was like animated. He was talking trash to the offense, firing at the defense. Mm-hmm. It was a fun one-on-ones to watch. Really curious, though, because Joe Tryon only had 1 rep. It was kind of crazy. Like, John, you mentioned that the other day. I was not at practice, but yeah, it's like that was just kind of nuts.
He had 1 rep again.
He had 1 rep, which was the last rep, and he won it. I think it was against Brad Seed.
Well, was he over there doing pass drops? Because Anthony Nelson was on 7v7 doing pass drops for a while.
Yes, I think so. And Shaq Barrett also had 1 rep. So I think the outside linebackers, I think Bowles had a lot of those guys over there doing that today because it was mostly interior stuff. Now, Jason Pierre-Paul, he did do a couple of edge rush reps against some of the tackles, but then he spent most of his time rushing on the inside. And I'll tell you, Alex Kappa had 2 incredible back-to-back reps. His only 2 reps of the day were against Ndamukong Suh and Rakeem Nunez-Roches.
Kappa is having a camp, man.
2 years ago, Kappa would have gotten schooled. He would have got his ass kicked. But he has come so far so fast, and he stonewalled both those guys easily, just hated them.
The practice the other day, the last time they did one-on-ones, I was at that practice and I watched the session and he clamped up Ndamukong Suh and I don't even think he took a step backward. It was incredible. I mean, he 2 reps, he just completely, it was it. And that was his only reps. And he was just like, all right, you're done. He's just gotten so much better, so much stronger, so much more technically sound. I think he's going to get paid in free agency. I really do.
I did say up. Listen, he was the only player, the only offensive lineman who was a regular starter to not give up a sack.
And he's considered the 5th best guy on the line.
Yeah, he's considered the weak link of the offensive line. But, I mean, he certainly has gotten way better at pass protection. And, he kind of should be, right, because he was a left tackle in college. It's kind of a finesse position. But to his credit, last year he really revamped his body, turned into a guard. He looks like a guard now. He looked like a gangly tackle a couple years, the first couple years in the league, but he really worked on his trunk, his torso, and he really has got a good, strong base now. Now, Khalil Davis also won his back-to-back reps. Aaron Stinney struggled
real quick before you do Davis, because I want to hear I have a couple questions about the defensive guys too. Yep. But Ben wants to know, maybe the threat of Stinney has made Kappa take his game to another level. I get the thought, Ben, but I think I know Kappa pretty well. And
thought and application are 2 different things, right?
Kappa does not need extra motivation. This guy is, he is all football all the time.
Yeah, he is.
So, but I get what you're saying, Ben.
He's got a bouncer mentality.
Yeah. Elliot wants to know, still think Kappa won't be back next year. I think it's going to be hard. We got a long way to go before we get in the weeds on those conversations, Elliot. The reality is that you paid a lot of people that you had to have back this year, and eventually you've got money in Marpet, money in Jensen. We'll see beyond this year what happens. Money in Smith.
Thing. John, I think the only way that Kappa has a chance of returning from just a financial standpoint, they want him back. It's not like they don't like him. They love the guy. He's a homegrown Buccaneer 3rd-round pick. But for that to happen, they've got to punt on Ryan Jensen and then feel comfortable to insert Robert Hainsey as the starter at center. And you know, and while you still have Tom Brady under center, that's a risk. That's a real big risk. Unless somehow, some way Jensen gets hurt this year. Hainsey plays a lot, down in, down out, gets the experience during his rookie season on Sundays. I just don't know that Jason Licht and Bruce Arians are going to feel comfortable
placing another guard.
Yeah. Well, and not just that, but essentially passing on re-signing Ryan Jensen in favor of Alex Kappa, given how critical the center is with Brady.
Plus, at some point during that Kappa contract, you're going to be paying Tristan Wirfs a big extension probably too. Right. So it's just, you've got a lot to think about. You have to be able to replace certain positions. I think you have to be able to replace strong safety. You have to be able to replace linebackers in some defenses. You have to be able to replace defensive tackles, nose tackles, especially guards, centers, like, number 2, number 3 wideouts, even at times, depending on the offense, running backs for sure.
I will tell you, listen, J.C. Allen wrote a really good story about Nick Leverett, and he's been a player that's really been kind of like,
how was he in one-on-ones?
Dominant. He won all of his reps.
Great in 11v11s too. Great
and
left and right tackle.
That's right. He plays left tackle, but he can also play guard. He played guard last year, and then has worked at left and right tackle this year. He got all his reps at left tackle today, and was dominant. I think that he's going to make the roster as the backup tackle along with Josh Wells. I think he's going to end up beating out Brad Seaton. We'll see in the preseason, but Nick Leverett's got that positional flexibility. And if you look at his size too, with Leverett, he's 6'4", 310. That's not a typical. He doesn't look like a tackle. He looks like a guard. Yeah. And if you remember, I'm trying to think of. I'd say he looks maybe a little bit like Donald Penn. There's another left tackle whose name is escaping me. I'm showing my 49-year-old age now.
He does kind of look like Donald Penn. He's just very. I think his frame is so much better than last year. He just looks like the way he's played in 11v11, Scott. I mean, Shaq Barrett, he has stood up multiple times, 11v11s. He won a one-on-one against him the other day. I think he faced him again today, you said, and he's just had a great camp. I think he looks like he can play multiple positions. He was at right tackle for the first team session today, left tackle later in team sessions. Moving around in the same practice is not easy at all.
Right.
He was great in both spots. The way they have developed offensive line depth, man, if Josh Wells and Aaron Stinney, what he did in the playoffs last year, and Wells when he's had to step in, Wells had a great camp too, and Leverett and hopefully Hainsey, and obviously they've developed Kappa. They've developed another small school guy in Marpet. Jensen's gotten better since he's been here. Obviously, Wirfs. It's probably one of the unsung heroes of Jason Licht's time. I mean, even a guy like Donovan Smith.
Yes.
Was as polarizing as it gets, Scott, when he was early on in Tampa Bay, and now he's just a rock solid dude.
Anthony Davis, that's the name I was searching for. Former
the Lakers center
tackle. No, not that good of a guy. Former Bucs left tackle Anthony Davis. He ended up replacing Derek Deese as the starter in 2004. I think Davis ended up playing. I think he was a starter for 2 or 3 years in Tampa. Let's see, 2003 through 2008. So he was the left tackle kind of before Donald Penn was. Just a kind of a serviceable guy, not great but good enough. That's kind of the body type that Nick Leverett reminds me of. And Davis 6'4", 322. Leverett looks bigger than 310. I'd say he looks like he's 320 to me, but he's been a guy to really keep an eye on. Number 60 in these preseason games. I think he's going to end up making the team. He looked really good on one-on-ones today.
And he's competing with Brad Seaton. Vortex wants to know if Seaton's done anything of note. Obviously, Seaton was a Buck and then opted out last year. And so just what have you seen from Seaton?
Not much. He got beat handily with his one-on-ones today. So,
he's been okay in the team sessions, but Leverett's definitely been better.
Listen, it sounds stupid, but I mean, the best thing about Brad Seaton is the fact that he's 6'9", 330.
Yeah,
he's just big. He's big and long.
Hard to get around a guy that big.
Right. But aside from that, he just doesn't have the ability to bend, the quickness, I think the coordination to be a really smooth pass protector. Yeah. It's it looks like there's a sense of urgency in a bad way with Brad Seaton. In other words, it's almost like a panicked thing where it's like, I'm going to get beat on the edge or something, or I'm going to get beat with an inside spin or something. So Khalil Davis, boy, he really has got an inside spin. He looked really good in his one-on-ones. He won both of those today. The arrow's pointing up for him. I mean, we've gotten some winks and nods from some of the sources in the building that Khalil Davis is for real, and he's going to be fun to watch in the preseason too.
I can't wait for that. He is probably one of the players I've got circled the most because they really need Khalil Davis. Like, I mean, not maybe this year, but in the future, yes. Like, again, another position where contract years all over the place.
That's right.
Age all over the place. It's great this year. It's fine because they got a bunch of guys who are Ironmen, but eventually Sue and McClendon are going to retire and Golson's going to retire, and they need other people. All those guys are in contract years too. And right now there's nobody in the system other than Khalil Davis that makes you think long-term could be an option. Ledbetter's had a good camp, but again, we're getting up there with Ledbetter. He's been around a while, and the ceiling for him is probably a rotational guy at best.
Right.
He's changed his body. He works hard. He's made some plays, but there's a ceiling there for sure.
We were talking about Raheem Nunez-Roches, and he's one of those guys that this team likes. They signed him to a 2-year deal. Did the same thing with Ross Cockrell. He's a steady Eddie. He's a role player for this team. But I mean, if he gets a sack, I mean, it's a lucky day for Raheem Nunez-Roches. He is just a run stopper, and I think with Khalil Davis, you get some suddenness, you get some explosiveness off the line. He's a very athletic guy, just a little undersized, but he brings something different to the table than these other Bucs defensive linemen do. Yeah,
for sure. I think he's a different type, but his body's in a position now where I think he's able to contribute against the run too.
Yeah.
Where it felt like pre-draft, he was kind of like, how lanky can I be and still run fast to impress people because I'm a really fast D tackle.
Yeah.
Maybe that was the right strategy, but I think now he's had to, the NFL I'm playing inside doesn't really matter what my 40 time is. Like, I got to be able to whip guys' tails in the trenches. And so, I think that's good to see that he's made strides. Preseason will be a great indicator. Bucs Time 12 wants to know, is there it feels like there's a breeze coming through on your end over there.
There's lightning and thunder.
Oh, lightning. Is that thunder? Oh man, that hasn't hit me yet.
Yeah, it's
that's loud.
A massive storm right here right now. So if for some reason I disappear, it's not because I don't like you, John, or everybody out there in Pewter Nation. I love you guys.
That's right.
It's just that it would be like an electrical issue.
Yeah, for sure. Bucs Time 12 wants to know Tryon 6 to 8 sacks. That's possible. I'd say 6 would be. I don't know.
I think 6. Yeah, 6 might
would be great.
6 would be fantastic. I actually answered a similar question. Great question in today's Bucs Money Mailbag about that. The question was, what if Joe Tryon actually outperforms Jason Pierre-Paul or Shaq Barrett by mid-season? And I think what that means is like, what if Shaq has 4 sacks and Tryon has 7, right? I mean, does he replace him as a starter? I don't know. I mean, if that's the case, then Tryon's working really, really well in that DPR role, that designated pass rusher role. So maybe you don't want to rock the apple cart and just keep doing what he's doing. I remember Mark Anderson out of Alabama during his rookie season with the Bears many, many moons ago. This is like well over a decade ago. Mm-hmm. He had 12 sacks as a designated pass rusher because that's all he did was that. And then the Bears made him a full-time defensive end the next year. And guess what, John? Mm-hmm. He wasn't nearly as effective.
Yeah,
because he was effective being the fresh guy coming off the the bench and just rushing on third downs. And by the time you got to the third and the fourth quarters, those tackles were dragging. And Anderson's a guy that had played 6 or 8 snaps in the first half. He was still fresh. That's how he was able to get those sacks. So I think Tryon's time as a starter is coming, but let's not rush things. I think I think 6 sacks, like you said, John, would be perfect.
Well, if he impresses this year, then the team doesn't have to get in any type of bidding war for Jason Pierre-Paul in the offseason. We'll see what Pierre-Paul wants to keep doing. He absolutely loves Tampa Bay. I don't know whether he's going to want to leave. The team could go year to year with him and feel like they have leverage with Tryon.
Yeah. John, we have a question here since you seem to know about this Pittsburgh Steelers team.
I have no idea the answer to this question, though. Long Lost Glazer wants to know, how is Khalil Davis's twin Carlos doing in Pittsburgh? I don't know. I don't have any clue. I've been so ingrained in everything going on with the Bucs. I know the general stuff happening in Pittsburgh, but I don't know like the specifics, like how Carlos is doing. Plus, they've had more practices closed to I don't trust hardly any Pittsburgh media, by the way. Don't tell them I said that. But they've had the one guy I do trust is like Alex Kozora and Chris Carter, and those guys haven't necessarily been there all the time and seen that, especially Alex. So because there's been so few, he's not credentialed, and there's so few practices open. So there's not a lot of people I'd even trust to tell me how things are going with a lot of those guys. So we'll see. I didn't notice Carlos much in the first preseason game. We'll see how he ends up developing. It looks like right now, though, the Bucs may got the better Davis. Yeah. We'll see how it all shakes out. Pat Riley wants to know if Bruce Arians looks healthy. Is he fit and ready for the stress of another year?
John,
I think he looks fine.
Yeah, he looks fine. Yeah, I put this up there because he rides around in his cart for the first half of practice. Right?
I was gonna say,
and which is great because it keeps him out of the sun. This is a guy that's had skin cancer. Mm-hmm. It keeps him like off his feet. He's getting up there in age. But the real curious thing is Tom Moore, who's in his 80s, right? Who's got Bruce beat by a decade in terms of age. Not only does Tom Moore stand and walk around practice, but we saw Bruce Arians today drive right past Tom Moore and not even offer him a ride to the other end of the field. So
that's right. We were cracking up because Tom Moore just kind of puttering around and just walk across, and doing his. But Tom Moore's the GOAT, and that's why he doesn't.
That's right.
He probably told him, "Hey, anytime you want to ride, let me know." And Tom Moore's like, "I'm walking."
Screw you, man. I'm walking.
Right.
Exactly.
So today, I mean, I didn't think again it was, Broken Ear Bruce wants to know, do we think Benning, Potoai makes this roster? No, not the roster. Practice squad?
Yeah, I think he's in the practice squad. But again, Khalil Davis really stepping up. And remember, the reason why Benning Potoai was on the team at the end of the season was because of that roster spot that was open with Vita Vea's injury, right? So he got some playing time in some games. So did Khalil Davis. I think Potoai, he is a developmental player. He flashes. I think there's something there, but he's going to take some more. I think he needs a little bit to gain a little bit more weight. I think that Jeremiah Ledbetter has had a better camp than Benning Potoai he has had so far. In that, Ledbetter's a bigger guy, and I think he holds up better against the run. And I think he's got more push as a pass rusher too with his bull rush.
The Bucs have like a ton of high floor defensive linemen. Like rarely are you going to get to see any of the guys on their roster D line other than maybe Sam Renner get bodied. Like they just don't get bodied up and driven around very often. Like there's a very high floor. They can at least hold their own physically. The question then is, what's the ceiling? Is there rush ability? Right. Is there tackle for loss ability? Is there penetration? Is there any of that kind of stuff behind the line of scrimmage? The real impact stuff, that's where I don't know. But to do the bare minimum, I think they've got a bunch of guys that can do that. The question becomes, who do you want to develop long-term that can give you some splash and some sizzle? So, cannot wait for Saturday. But I agree with you, Matthew Sams, on that front. But also, you know what, Scott? I can't wait to let people know about Manscaped, too, because I think they are really changing the game. I really do. I know we have fun with this ad read and we laugh, and I never want people to misunderstand the fact that I believe in Manscaped. You believe in Manscaped. You can get 20% off Manscaped plus free shipping with the promo code Pewter, PE. Guys, you got to know about the Performance Package 4.0. This thing is unbelievable, and it's joining. You can join the 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and get ready for a hot guy summer by going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping with that promo code Pewter. In this Performance Package 4.0, you will get the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, a game changer. That's not the thunder you hear behind Scott.
That's right.
That's the Manscaped 4.0 trimmer. The Weed Whacker.
Light you can see
That's right. You got the light. You got the travel lock on that thing. It's waterproof. It's a game changer. No nicks, no nothing like that. Keeps you safe and well taken care of. You also have the Weed Whacker ear and hair and nose hair trimmer game changer that Manscaped has presented in this package. The Crop Preserver ball deodorant, the Crop Reviver toner, the Performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold all of your goodies. I'm telling you, manscaped.com has thought of everything. You can go there, 20% off. Look at that travel bag.
Yep.
They've got everything for real. And you can get 20% off, guys. Look, just being straight up with you. This is something you got to take care of. It's 2021. Get on board with Manscaped and the Game Changer. Go get yourself one. Tell somebody, hey, I want this as a gift. There's a way to get it 20% off. Get it as a gift for somebody else. Telling you. That's what I did at the wedding. I got it for my boy.
That's right.
And I'm sure it's been a game changer for him as well. And so that's what you got to do. Go to manscaped.com, get yourself and get your people situated.
You can also get something else too. You can also get this badass PeterReport.com t-shirt right here. Right?
People are always asking about those, Scott. How do we get these Peter Report t-shirts?
We got some back in stock. So all you have to do is email me your proof of purchase from Manscaped when you use that promo code Pewter. The great thing is it has your address on, which I need to send you the shirt. It also does not have your financial information, which I don't need at all. That's your business, not mine. But email me at sr@pewterreport.com, sr@pewterreport.com, easy to remember. And I'll send you the shirt free shipping and everything. So it costs you nothing. All you have to do is support our sponsor, Manscaped, and I'll send you this awesome pewterreport.com t-shirt. Now, the cool thing is we got these in white, we have them in black, we got them in gray. And so all I need to know is what color you want and what size you are. So make sure you send that in the email, and we'll send one of these off to you right before the start of the season.
Emily says, I hope BA never does a Manscaped promo. I thought about doing the Manscaped read when we had him on the pod. I actually texted Jake Arians, and I was like, hey, when your dad's on the pod, get have him do the Manscaped promotion read and see what he thinks. But that's funny, Emily. I agree with you on that one. Dara wants to know, is the Bucs' greatest strength that they could lose top two in every position besides linebacker and quarterback and probably be okay? I think they probably tackle.
I don't know that they're that deep. Yeah, I think tackle is probably the weakest position, but I've been encouraged by what I've seen from Nick Leverett. It's just that you don't want Josh Wells or Nick Leverett playing, right? You want to have Donovan Smith and Tristan Wirfs because there is a significant drop off there. It's not like the Buccaneers can't get by for a game or two. They did that, John. They had the Josh Wells start in that game up in Atlanta. Right. They were down 17 points, but they came back. But in my opinion, though, I think they can lose a couple of people, but it's deep. It's the deepest that I've ever covered in Tampa. But attrition at certain positions, if it happens, tackles one of them, quarterback's another one, it can be a game changer. So as deep as they are, this is not a foolproof roster by any means in Tampa Bay this year.
Right. Never is in the NFL. It's just the reality is that you go up against teams when you get to the playoffs that are going to have everybody. And if you're not ready, then it makes a big difference, as the Chiefs showed us last year in the Super Bowl for sure. So definitely, agreed. Bucs time 12. You do not want to push your luck too much with that kind of stuff. So last thing I want to touch on, Scott, before we wrap this thing up, because I don't know what to do with this. Bruce Arians is sounding like, first of all, the starters are going to play in this weekend in Saturday's practice.
Yep.
Everybody's going to play. Tom Brady's going to play. We'll see for the Titans preseason game. He said it depends on how they practice against the Titans during the week. Okay. Then the third preseason game, everybody's going to play a lot.
No, that's
hold
not gonna
on.
happen. No.
Help me, Scott. Like
the third preseason game, I think, is going to be like the fourth preseason game. Where
that's what I thought. But he said today, I'm going to find the quote. I mean, because Bruce will say things sometimes without really like thinking through the whole thing.
Yeah.
But he said, that's happened. He said, here it is. He said he will treat this preseason game like a normal first preseason game when they would. Everybody will play. Yep. Don't know how much, but everybody will play. The Titans week, we're going against them for 2 practices. That will determine how that is as far as who plays in that one. And the last one will play a bunch.
I think we'll play a bunch of backups and scrubs. I think that's what he's saying.
But the question was about the starters.
I know. I don't see that. I don't see that happening
either.
You know, I think this third preseason game against the Texans is going to be like the fourth preseason game where you're going to see Ryan Griffin start. You're going to see Kyle Trask a bunch. You're going to see Tremaine Pope if he's still on the team.
That's what
CJ Procise. I think it's going to be the backup bowl for that third one.
It's interesting. I would play Brady as little as humanly possible.
Yeah.
That's and same with Mike Evans and Chris. Come on. You just had no preseason games and went out and I know they took a while to hit their stride, but they're having a full camp and they've played together now before and they still were pretty good even to start the season. They were still putting up points. Yeah. I hate preseason games because when dudes get injured in preseason, it just infuriates me. Like,
I remember Devin Joseph. Devin Joseph was a Pro Bowl guard for the Buccaneers, and that preseason injury just wrecked his career, and he wasn't the same afterwards. Michael
Right.
Henderson asked, will there be a pregame Saturday podcast? There will not be a pregame Saturday podcast. There will be a postgame Saturday podcast.
Mm-hmm.
But John,
But yes, Scott.
we might start teasing some of our podcast
tease
plans.
it. That's right.
Okay.
If you're interested in some pregame shows, Michael Henderson, you may want to be ready for the start of the regular season, because Pewter Report has some very fun things lined up for game days this year. Stuff we've never done before.
Right.
Stuff I think fans are going to be very interested in, very excited about. So, yeah,
right here visually on our not just our YouTube channel, but we're actually going to have this embedded on pewterreport.com. So you can just stay tuned at pewterreport.com and watch us, very much like you did during our wall-to-wall draft coverage, John.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We might be having some wall-to-wall Bucs game day coverage, pregame, during the game, and postgame as well.
Yeah, it's going to be a ton of fun. The stuff we have lined up and prep for y'all for the regular season that we are still putting together and still figuring out ourselves, but we're getting closer and closer to being able to give you some more concrete details. So we're excited
the key
about
right
that.
there, guys. Subscribe to our Pewter Report TV YouTube channel. Hit the like button for our videos. Greatly appreciate that. Thank you, guys. We're getting close to 5,000 subscribers now on our channel, which is great, because we've really only been doing this for less than a full year now. And we've seen our channel grow. So help us if you're listening now, whether it's on a streaming platform like Facebook or Twitter. Make sure that you go to our YouTube channel, Pewter Report TV, and click the subscribe button. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yep. And post-game podcast time, Bucs Time 12 wants to know. So here's the podcast schedule the rest of the week. We'll be live 4 p.m. tomorrow, Wednesday and Thursday. Friday, no podcast. Saturday, we will be, that is the day of the game, obviously. The game will be, 7 or 7:30 at night?
7:30.
7:30. So after the game, we will have coaches availability, and we will be working on our post-game content. When the coach talks, when Arians talks, and then players talk, after those conversations kind of end and the players and the interview part of it is done, then we'll be live at that point in time, and we will be kind of making sure that we're communicating to you guys those times on social media and things like that. So if you follow us there, so there isn't a specific set time, but again, if you're subscribed to us on YouTube, you'll get notifications when we go live. So hit that bell to get the notifications. That way you won't ever miss it when we go live. Because in season, if we do the post game pods, there's no set time. They're usually about 45 minutes or so. After the game ends, we usually go live. Once we've gotten our content, some of our content up, and we've gotten the interviews part of everything done, 45 minutes to an hour after the game, we're usually live. So look for us then at that point in time. And yes, Bucs Time 12, we did go about 8 hours on the third day of the draft, and 20,000 people tuned in, and it was awesome. So
that's right.
We'll do it again next year. But until then, you got us on the Pewter Report podcast, and we'll be back tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern with more great Bucs content from Bucs practice tomorrow morning on the Pewter Report podcast. So as always, thank you all for listening so much to another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Out.